It has been a while since I have talked about something I enjoyed. Like past 3 or 4 videos were just me complaining about random ass shit, right? And since it has been a while since I have talked about something I absolutely loved, I decided that it is the perfect time to do so. So sit back, relax, enjoy your food, and hopefully enjoy me geeking about Vinland Saga. Of course, spoiler warning to the people who did not watch Vinland Saga Season 1 and 2. This show is the epitome of a beautiful writing man. Thorfinn is actually one of the best written characters I have ever seen. Like, I would put him on the same level as Kratos.
There are consequences to saying the N-word.
Why? How do you know? How do you know?
And I am one of the people who preferred Season 2 over Season 1. Even though both are masterpieces, for some reason I tend to lean towards beautiful character development rather than straight up action. But of course, Season 2 wouldn't be as great as it is if it wasn't for Season 1. And knowing that Season 1 was just a prelude to the story is absolutely wild, by the way. All of this, 24 episodes of beautiful story, was just a prelude. Mad.
Empty the compartments of your pantaloons. For what purpose? And discard.
Thorfinn's dad, Thors, wanted to teach Thorfinn how to be a real warrior.
The old days of the Sith army! Anger is not the way of a Jedi!
And that he has no enemies in this world. Thors gets called on a mission and Thorfinn follows him to the ship, which turns out to be an ambush made by a guy called Ashilad. And Ashilad ends up killing Thors in front of him. So Thorfinn becomes blinded by hate and vengeance and follows Ashilad into war in order to become a warrior so he can acquire enough skill to kill Ashilad. Let us talk a bit about Thors. This fucking man was so at peace with himself that Thorkel, which is the strongest warrior in the show, was not able to stop him from going to Iceland in order to escape war. And even in his death, the way he died is just insane, because he died just because he did not want to kill anyone. Can you understand how extraordinary someone can be that he dies just because he didn't feel like murdering everyone else? Thor's death made Thorfinn beyond hateful, to the point where it became his only motivation. And his hatred was so blinding to the point that he saw everyone on the battlefield as his enemy and not give a rat's ass to who he kills or not. As long as he gets closer to his goal, killing Ashilad, his father's killer, he does not give a shit who he is going to kill.
I am going to remind you in advance that I am very sorry and I apologize for the inconvenience of me not giving up.
And of course, the season ends with Ashilad's dying by the hands of this pipsqueak of a prince called Canute, which makes Thorfinn feel empty and end up depressed. And this is when peak starts, as known as Season 2. This season can be summed up in one word, actually.
Slavery.
This season starts where a guy named Einar ends up being a slave because his family was killed due to war. And he gets bought by a guy named Ketil. And of course, our favorite depressed lad Thorfinn is also a slave in that farm. Thorfinn is still as lost and still as depressed as he was in the last episode of Season 1. And of course, he does not give a shit about living. Yet, even though he is depressed, he still aura farms. Like, look at this shit. These people came out of nowhere just to let this rich ass dude kill him in order to become a man. Thorfinn aura farms, stands there getting slashed, and part of his ear gets chopped off, and he did not blink even once. My man is aura farming with depression as a tool. Until this guy comes in called Snake, and he shows a bit of malice. And of course, my boy Thorfinn just blocked his attack with a singular kick. And look at that man's reaction. He knew Thorfinn is not a fucker to fuck with. Thorfinn literally went toe to toe against Thorkel while he was still a fucking child. But on a real note, this scene where Thorfinn gets slashed is a bit real in a way. It shows how much this feeling of emptiness can make someone not care if they are being hurt. Yet, even though you are empty, there is always a part of you that still wants to continue on living. You can basically summarize Thorfinn's character growth as an answer to a question that we, the people of today, still ask ourselves. So what now? Thorfinn's struggles stem from the fact that he no longer has a fuel to keep him motivated to continue living, since all he had going on was the hatred he had to Ashilad. So when Ashilad died, this hatred is gone. And hence the motivation is not there anymore, and he thinks he no longer has anything. Seeing his mental warfare, how he understood that war and bloodshed never solve anything. Something that Thor's, his father, tried to teach him at the start. And Thor's appearing in his head to make him remember what he tried to teach him at a young age. That no human ever is born with enemies is actually beautifully done. And that is why this scene was absolutely gorgeous, to the point where I first watched the show, it gave me goosebumps. I have no enemies. This specific scene cements and shows us that this is who Thorfinn has become, and how much he has grown up from his hatred. I fucking love this show. What the show does amazingly well is to point out the different ideologies people have, showing how two different perspectives can differ so much, yet the goal remains kind of the same. Thorfinn wants to eliminate war. So does Canute. He wants to build a paradise on Earth. And he wants to do that in order to save the Vikings. And building a paradise on Earth in his perspective is an act of defiance to God. And the reason he wants to save the Vikings is because the way they live, which is basically just going to war, pillaging and killing people and finding honor in all of that, is that the Vikings are unworthy to go to heaven. So every single one of them, in his point of view, will go to hell. And hence, he justifies killing a few people just so he can make a lot of people thrive. This is the perfect method and the perfect world in his perspective. But this, in my opinion, is a very terrifying view, and sadly reflects today's world leaders in a way. Each one of them wants to take over the world and make it function the way they see fit, regardless if their action causes civilian casualties. It really is a terrifying reality if you think about it. And of course, Season 2 concludes with Thorfinn wanting to establish a country in Vinland, which is modern day in America, by the way. And he wants it to be a land where the people who want to flee war, flee from the destruction, run away from slavery, can find refuge. And that is when we see that Thorfinn finally started seeing the world that his father Thors had tried to show him when he was a kid. Absolute cinema. 10 out of 10.